Hello, everyone, and welcome in. Happy Monday evening to you. This is Swarm Talk right here on the Crowded Booth, all things Georgia Tech all the time. My name is Bryce Koon, your host. I don't want to say a special guest because you know who he is. He's joining me here in just a second as we get ready to talk about what went wrong in Atlanta on Saturday night. The vibes were right. The atmosphere was right. The opportunity to go to Charlotte was right there for the taking, and the Yellow Jackets come up short. What went wrong? How do they recover? Are there any postseason hopes left? And what can you accomplish this weekend against Georgia? That and more on tonight's episode. Let's rock and roll.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The crowded booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
All right, welcome in. My name is Bryce Koon alongside Will Maness for a special edition of Swarm Talk. And Will typically doesn't appear on these shows, but Will was in the building, outside press box there at Bobby Dodd Stadium for Saturday night's matchup. So, Will, we welcome you in because obviously you were boots on the ground there in Atlanta. I was watching a 13-10 slugfest in Baton Rouge between LSU and Western Kentucky. But, man, no, appreciate you going up there. Appreciate it. I know you even said, like, hey, this is a really cool atmosphere. Skyline looks beautiful. And I guess we start right there, man. All the vibes were right. Apparently the stadium looked like it was rocking, looked like it was, ready to take in what should have been a fantastic evening on the flats.
Yeah, we can start with this right here. I mean, this was my view for the game. It's awesome, man. Bobby Dodd Stadium is it's awesome. I think me, Ralph, we come on the show, we might say some things about Georgia Tech, but it really is a really cool place. It's a special place. It's awesome to see a sellout crowd like that. I mean, it was truly awesome. I wish I would have waited for more of the crowd to fill up. It would have made a much better picture, but we'll have to save that for the next one. But it was really awesome. The environment was great. Fully expected it to be great. Tech fans, you showed up and showed out and made it tough early on for Pitt, because that first drive they didn't do much, but after that it was all Pitt after that opening drive.
Yeah, we're going to talk about this game. I didn't watch it in real time. Funny enough, so we had my daughter, my family was in town, so they came to the game, the LSU game, sat with them, got let her watch the first half. She went through the first half of the game, so awesome for her. She didn't miss anything, that's for sure, in the second half. But so I did not see what was happening in real time. There, obviously, as one would wonder, or could guess, you guys were just blowing the group chat up with holy cow, like what is happening? And so I think I had to text me, like, what's going on? And I think you sent Bryce, it's 21-0, and they just started the second quarter.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. I was floored. And then obviously, we've got a snoozer in Baton Rouge that tonight. So a lot of the press in our press box are like, Bryce, when I get back up there after the end of the first quarter of the LSU game, they're like, do you see what's happening? I was like, yeah, I got a buddy there. Like, he's covering the game for me. He's there, and he says crazy. So we've got like four screens in a row are not even paying attention to the game. We're watching the Georgia Tech Pitt game. So, this was, I think, the biggest thing, Will, we'll just kind of start off with here is the feeling. I don't know how much you have paid attention. I know we've sent some things in the group chat about the reactions from some of the Tech fans after the game. But, look, you're not a Tech fan. You haven't talked as much of Tech as I have over the past several years. But obviously we know a lot about this program. We know people who are involved in this program. What was your reaction, just encompassing? Like, maybe not one specific thing, and we'll get more into the nitty gritty, but like, what was your reaction to what you saw on Saturday? Was it surprising, disappointing? I mean, that's my word probably, but what was your reaction to what you saw?
Shocking is the one word to describe it. I mean, it's like you said, it had all the makings of like, this is dream season, dream year for Georgia Tech. You go out, you take care of business against Pitt. You're playing for an ACC title. We're talking about a playoff berth. And unfortunately now that's all zapped, gone. Pitt effectively didn't end the season because you still got Georgia to play for. Things can get crazy. You beat a top four team.
Really crazy.
Beat a top four team. You've got an argument to say, hey, we should be in there, right? We should get in there, 11, 12 seed. but you need some help to do that. You're going to go play in a good bowl game. The Pop-Tarts Bowl was in attendance. Saw some representatives at the
Elite
Tech.
gear, by the way. They came down to LSU a couple weeks ago. Elite apparel by the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
Awesome. It's awesome. So you're going to go to a really good bowl game, which is still keep it all in perspective. Still very important for this program. This is still a great year for this program. Great year for Brent Key. You can really build on it. Now we know what all's leaving, but not all is lost from losing this game. But I mean, especially that first quarter, the first half, it was just shocking. And I think everybody but the Pitt contingency was shocked at what we were watching. And I think, just kind of get in the game a little bit. I think that shows the head coaching experience, Pat Narduzzi putting together a dynamite game plan to get off and running, because that's what you got to do at a night game on the road in an environment like that. You've got to go in there and you got to take the crowd out of it as soon as you can. And Pitt did that, right?
Yeah.
They had explosive plays early. Their defense showed up and showed out. And again, going back to it being shocking, looking at the whole game, Georgia Tech's defense did things that they hadn't done all year. They sacked Heinschel. I should have had this in front of me 6 times, I believe. 6 sacks. And we talked about, leading up to this game, Georgia Tech can't get pressure on the quarterback. It was almost like everything that we thought we knew and all the things that we had seen from Georgia Tech was the complete opposite in this game.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of talk about the defense, a lot of talk about making changes with defensive staff, all that. You give up 42 points, but you put in perspective of what you've seen, just looking with your eyes, the defense played better, I would say, in this game than they have at times in other games this year. You gave up a ton of points.
Especially the second half.
Yeah, but you just watching the game, seeing it, seeing all 11 players on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Pitt just hit explosives, and they came out and made plays. They hit those big plays, and it turned out to be the difference was big plays.
Talk about big plays being a big part of this. I thought, and you hit the nail on the head there, the two things that stood out to me was they got off the fast start. Pitt came out swinging, and I think that's what, I think it's what Georgia Tech fans wanted to see out of their team, and they have seen out of their team on the road against certain teams. But I'll tell you one thing, man, just like Narduzzi's game plan. Now, we can talk about the decision to punt there late in the game or fake the punt. He almost ended Pitt's season. That was crazy to see that. But just in terms of what Narduzzi did in this game, I mean, look, they had a good game plan. They executed. And let's talk about this, man. Like, within the scope of the game, like, I thought that for the first time this season, we really saw Haynes King pay attention to the pass rush. Georgia Tech's offensive line has been statistically one of the best pass blocking units in the country. This game, we talked about this. Narduzzi and Pitt knew that they had to affect what he wanted to do. I thought they did a great job of that, and you could tell with some of Haynes' throws later in the game. I think it'd be crazy to say those weren't affected by that.
The first interception, I mean, I think the guy just ran right past in between the right guard and the right tackle. Nobody picked him up. He's running for his life, and he just throws it right to the Pitt. I think it was the corner. Just threw it right to him. And everybody in the press box saying, I heard several people say, who is he throwing to? I mean, he's running for his life back there, but still, like, who is he throwing that to? Like,
yeah,
the route, I don't know if he thought the receiver was going to keep running or what, but it was, like I said, we saw things that we haven't seen from Georgia Tech all year show up in this game.
What did you think about Haynes King's play, just overall? I mean, I thought he's a big reason they almost came back and won this game. He is. But what'd you think about it?
You look at the numbers, and they ended up pretty good. 27 of 41, 257 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions, ran for a touchdown, ran it 20 times for 76 yards. That 27 of 41, that's 66% completion. That's a lot of what we've seen all year. And eye test, it's hard to say because you look at those numbers and you think about, and I'm remembering back what I saw. I saw panic at times from him because, like you said, the pass blocking for Tech all year has been really, really good.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen in this game. They were trailing in this game they hadn't really trailed much all year in any game. they find themselves trailing here, especially this early, right? Down 3 touchdowns in the first quarter. I mean, you're
You
scrambling.
don't play. There's not a script for that. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And they felt like they were scrambling, and there was panic at times. I don't know if I had to grade it, I would say probably B plus. I mean, all things considered, I think I give him a B plus because, like you said, the second half he started clicking. The offense started clicking a little bit. Really, in the second quarter, they got 2 touchdowns, and really started to get things going, get back in the game. And we've said it all year. I mean, this Georgia Tech offense lives and dies with Haynes King. Very evident in this game, right? It's slow start for him and the offense. They struggle to put up points. They get things going. They come back in the game. They almost make it a game. But again, and I've said it many times, if you've got Haynes King throwing the ball 30, 40 times a game, something's wrong.
Because it's not their game plan.
That can't be your game plan. That should never be the game plan for him to throw the ball that much. But no, I thought he played well. I mean, I think the second interception, the pick 6, was really bad. It was a really questionable decision, which I think a lot of times this year we haven't had to say that about him. But late in the game, trying to go in and tie the game, trying to make a play, I get it. Just a back-breaking play at that point in the game.
I want to stay on the offense here real quick because I did think there was something that was obviously interesting in this one. I thought this offense played tight. I think that's the best way to put it. Like, lack of better words, let's say they just puckered up and they couldn't unpucker. I mean, that was really kind of what happened. I think the moment was too big. I mean, I think when the lights were bright, they couldn't find a way to execute. And, something that I think if you're a fan and you're watching this and you've watched Tech all season, you've seen glimpses of them do this, slow starts or something like that, like the Duke game, but it hasn't come back to bite you because you haven't played a team that could put together 2 pretty decent halves. I don't think Pitt played great in the second half, but they did enough to, in that first half, the lead was so insurmountable, and then the pick 6 just put you in so far of a hole. I just think Georgia Tech played tight early on, and for the first time this season, they were unable to dig themselves out of that hole.
Yeah, I think you put it perfectly that the lights were too bright. I don't think it was for Haynes King necessarily. I think for the rest of the offense, especially that offensive line. I mean, they came out. I mean, they literally played on their heels, and that's how Pitt was able to get after Haynes King. They just pinned their ears back and went after him, and Tech didn't have an answer. And this isn't a young team, but this is a team that hasn't played on this stage. It's a team of players that haven't played on a stage like this big of a stage.
They haven't. I mean, you're not hating. They have not played for an opportunity to go to the title game. They've never done that. So this iteration of this Georgia Tech team under Brink, he's never coached in that game at Georgia Tech. I mean, you had a lot of first out there on the field, and they didn't show up. And I think the veteran coaching of like you said, I thought that was a good point. Like, Narduzzi's been in this spot. Like he's lost in this spot. He's also won in this spot. I don't know. Anything else on the offense that really you wanted to talk about? Because, I mean, look, I think Isaiah Cannon's a good player. I'm going to talk about him. I mean, I think he's going to be a team guy that you're going to have to pay up to keep. Anytime you got a physical outside receiver, big-bodied guy, that's going to be a commodity on the open market if he reaches there. Anything else, though, offensively, like you liked out of this?
Yeah, well, I know you get down 21-0 early, and you feel like you got to throw yourself back in the game, but it was so early. I think Tech could have stayed committed to the running game. Jamal Haynes didn't have a great game, but he only had 10 carries. Malachi Hosley only had 1 carry. C.J. Alexander only had 2 carries. I know a lot of that is Haynes King pulling it, running himself, but I think they could have stayed with the running game, right? Especially maybe that second drive, that third drive when it's 7-0, 14-0. Keep it on the ground. Let your offensive line get downhill. So I think Buster Faulkner kind of went away from the run a little bit too early. I know you're down a lot. Feel like you got to throw back into it, but the strength of this offense is running the football, and I think kind of got away from that early on. And the passing game, and I say that, and I was texting you in the group saying it, and I think I said it some in the Discord. I was like, this passing game is almost everything's behind the line of scrimmage. Like it's when you're down 21-0, it makes it difficult to watch, right?
Yeah.
I know they hit the vertical passes, they show that some, but I mean, it feels like 90% of these throws are behind the line of scrimmage or within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. So it makes it easy for that. It made it easy on Pitt to, sit in the box all game and take it away.
I want to look this up here. PFF does a good job of putting out like that passing chart. So let's take a look real quick here. I wanted to look at the passing, the pressure, and the depth. So Haynes King we've got him down for 41 attempts. Yeah, I mean, over 60% came within the I'll say this. You had 14 of the 41 attempts came behind the line of scrimmage. And then you add in to close to around 25. So 27. So, I mean, close to around 60%, over 50% came behind there. So to me, it's one of those things where, look, Georgia Tech's style of play is not a secret, right? They want to bludgeon you to death with the run. They want to utilize Haynes King as the point guard. That's exactly what they want to do. They don't shy away from it. They've been really, really good at it. It's worked for them. This was the nightmare scenario that unveiled for your offense. King makes a couple bad decisions, makes some bad throws. You get behind really early. I don't think this team is necessarily built to come back from behind. Now, we talk about it. We didn't think that. They started to come back from behind, and I mean, I was watching it unfold like that. I think the game ended with the pick six. To me, that was like, yeah, they can't come back because you were right there, man. Like you were down 28-0, and now you're about to come all the way back. And like you said, that there's just a bad decision. I don't know what he was looking at. I don't know if it was a miscommunication. Brent Key said afterwards he didn't really know, and that's something they'd have to go back to the tape and look at. But I think it was a bad time for Haynes King to have one of his worst moments or one of his bad moments, and he hasn't had a ton of them at Georgia Tech.
Yep. And this last note about the offense, Dusty Road with comment, love King, but he missed two touchdown throws to open receivers. Yes, that happened. And I saw that at times where Haynes King very, very hesitant to push the ball down the field. When you're down 28-0, when you're throwing it as much as they are, you got to give it a shot, right? You don't, especially early in drives. I hated to see him throw that pick six when they're on, they're inside the 5-yard line. They're goal to go, and you throw a pick six. Now, if it's, 2nd and 12 from your own 30, yeah, push that thing down the field. You throw a pick. Well, we're already down 28-0, so you're trying to make a play.
Mm-hmm.
I saw receivers coming open or, trying to find holes in the zone. He could have tried to push the pass in there, chose not to. Saw that a couple of times in the game. So and I think that's kind of been my one knock on Haynes King is everybody loves the stat. He didn't have any turnover-worthy throws before this game, but he doesn't push it to make the game-changing plays, right? That's your trade-off. You don't have the turnover-worthy throws, but you also don't have a lot of throws that could change the game.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think to put a bow on this offensively, we saw this offensive line struggle. It was one of the concerns I had coming into the year about the group is that, yes, you had some guys you were high on, but I thought to kind of, like I said, put a bow on this, I thought Pitt's front seven played out of their mind. I thought they absolutely dominated Georgia Tech at the point of attack, and that's something that was uncharacteristic from a Brent Key-led team. So that was a surprising thing for me. And then, like I said, Haynes King blinked. And what have we been talking about for the past several weeks? You got into this meat of the schedule in November to where if you blink, the margin of error is very thin, and now Georgia Tech's blinked twice, and they find themselves at, with two losses in the conference. By the way, when you take a look at what has to happen, Will mentioned earlier, Georgia Tech's conference schedule is obviously over. They're 6-2 in the ACC. They need Virginia to lose to Virginia Tech, SMU to lose to Cal, and Pitt to lose to Miami. It's not complete crazy, but you got to have all three of those things happen to reach Charlotte. So that is that to me is just kind of crazy. Real quick, before we talk about defense, let's talk about our friends over at Section 103. They do a fantastic job, as always. Great gear, and they got the Georgia Tech market. They got it cornered. Absolutely everything you want, from polos to the coach hoodies to apparel, from all the way to the little ones to some of the older people in the crowd, the elderly, the more wise people, will put it. Look, I thought it was it's a great deal. They got a great deal run right now, 20% off your Black Friday. If you missed that for some reason, though, you can get 10% after Black Friday using code TCB10 for 10% off your order today. All right, so back to the action here, Will. we're going to talk about Blake Gideon. And, there's a lot of people. Well, I'll just say this. We were sitting in Dallas watching that NC State Georgia Tech game. And we kind of sat and said, like, look, you're going to play some offenses here in November that have the opportunity to hurt you. CJ Bailey played outside of his mind. Dave Doran's a veteran coach, offensive-minded coach, and it worked. You come back at this, Narduzzi and Pitt have been one of the highest scoring offenses since they've made the switch to the new quarterback. I guess we'll just kind of sit here and say, like, this felt like the dam finally broke on Georgia Tech's defense. It's a unit, like we said, does not get a lot of pressure. They still garnered 6 sacks, but they just could not disrupt the timing in that, especially in terms of game time, the first 20, 25 minutes of the game. Yep. Like that first and a half of the quarter play, like I just thought Pitt fired on all cylinders. Like they just couldn't do anything wrong, and Georgia Tech couldn't do anything to stop them. And I've been saying multiple times, like a lot of people say, hey, you want to bring the blitz? You want to do these different things? You're playing dangerously when you have to blitz and play man coverage on the back end. Georgia Tech had to do that a little bit. And then if you play zone against them and you can't get home, they're going to pick you apart. So I guess from your vantage point, what was maybe your biggest takeaway about the Georgia Tech defense outside of the fact they did get 6 sacks?
I mean, that was really it. I mean, the 6 sacks. I keep coming back to the word shocking. I mean, we talked about how they couldn't get a pass rush. They found a way to get 6 sacks. But man, when you got a quarterback like as locked in like Mason Heinschel was, you're gonna struggle. I can't remember if it was the first touchdown pass or second touchdown pass. He hits the tight end right in between the linebacker and the safety, and our friends in the Discord weren't too pleased with the defense on that play. And I'm like, that's an incredible throw. Like not everybody's making that throw. This is a freshman quarterback making that throw. I thought it was defended pretty well. I mean, disciplined, which is a word we've had to use a lot talking about Georgia Tech's defense. I thought it was, they did their assignments. I think everybody did on that play, and Heinzel just put it in a perfect spot, and the guy went up and caught the ball. He was locked in, and was really, really good. When you got a quarterback making plays like that, it's hard to stop. You can talk about the defensive play calling. They didn't blitz early enough. I mean, if you're Blake Gideon, why do you blitz? I mean, you showed you can't get to the quarterback. Why not just try to cover up the receivers and get coverage sacks? So I don't know. For a lot of the game, like, I said it in the open, I think a lot of the game, I thought that the Tech defense, especially for their standards, played pretty well. Pitt just made plays. They made big plays and made it hurt.
I think that the biggest thing with this defense, and this isn't necessarily, so it's a twofold thing for me. There's a lack of talent at the top 2 levels at safety and linebacker. And you've had guys just straight up progress. I mean, guys that you brought in through the portal. Well, here's my take on it. This is not necessarily a take. I didn't know this for a fact. Georgia Tech has invested heavily into the offensive side of the football from an NIL standpoint. They had to reinvest into Haynes King. They had to reinvest into Aaron Philo. That took up a chunk change. They go get an Eric Rivers. They have to bring back Malik Rutherford. They go get Hosley. They got to bring Jamal Haynes back. Like, they have financially put an investment there. In a game like this, you see, like, that was a talent disadvantage. You don't have 2 linebackers that can play. Like, you just don't. Well, I'll just be honest with you. I don't think you have 1 linebacker that necessarily you can keep on the field as a 3 or 4 down linebacker. You just don't have that. Melvin Jordan has been a disappointment, I think, in terms of what you expected him to do this year. You lose Jai Gilmore, obviously. Jai Gilmore is a safety transfer from Georgia State. He's been really actually pretty good for you. You don't have any depth back there. So you got a lot of young guys playing. I don't know how healthy Amari Harvey truly is, to be honest with you. Like, he's come back. I don't really know how healthy he is in that sense. But just, I think in terms of defense, you just have guys that are not in position to make plays. Like, I mean, I was going back and looking at it, like, there's so many plays in this game where guys are not flowing to the right spot. Their keys are off. They're reading the wrong thing. And to an extent, it's a coaching problem. So that's where Blake Gideon comes into this. Now, we'll ask the question in a second here about what his future is at Georgia Tech. But, like, overall, like, this defense has regressed, I think, from last year. It's not nearly as good, and you just didn't play anybody for the first 2 months of the season that could exploit that. It's kind of funny. Will, I talked about Georgia Tech could beat anybody when they played them in the phone booth, right? I meant that on the offensive side of the football. What we really didn't know is they could only do that in the defensive side of the ball. If a team spread them out and threw the ball on them, they were going to struggle because they don't have the caliber of player at linebacker or safety to be able to play consistently well against this. So that was a major issue in this game. And you saw them, like they absolutely exploited that. I guess the one other thing that I wanted to kind of look at here about this, in terms of pass rush, like, listen, Braden Manley was an FCS All-American, one of the best players in FCS level, played at Mercer. This is why there's a risk when you take an FCS transfer. Right. For everything that's gone right with Malachi Hosley, it hasn't worked out with Manley. And I don't blame the kid. It's a massive jump. Well, this is why we sit in the month of January and February and tell you, hey, I'm not going to say it's a sure thing because you never know how it's going to work. They've missed with that. A.J. Hoffel, the transfer from Clemson, has been what he was at Clemson. He's very athletic, not fine-tuned, does not have a good pass rush skill set, and it hasn't worked out for you. So they have missed on some of their transfers because they've gone bargain bin shopping as a program in the transfer portal department as a defense. That has to change next year. Now, we'll get into, obviously, a lot of the offseason content, I guess, sooner than we thought with Georgia Tech this year. I don't mean that as a joke, but it really is. But I guess in terms of the talent level, like, I just felt like Pitt straight up exploited it. Like, I think Pitt knew coming in this game that these guys cannot hang with us. Like, if we hit some of these passes early on, we hit some of these big plays, like you mentioned, they're going to be on their heels and they're not going to know they don't know how to adjust that. And Gideon doesn't adjust. Like, I will say that for the fans that were frustrated. He does not adjust. He just brings more pressure. Well, that puts a strain on your back end that's not that great to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, I think where it was most telling was when they hit the big runs, like the long run that effectively ended the game. I mean, that's just a straight dive that everybody's been running since middle school and just ran through three defensive backs on his way to the end zone. And you talk about the personnel, you talk about being young, whatever. It's going to be the same next year. I mean, I'm looking at Tech's recruiting class, and they've got 2 4-star safeties, or corners, I should say, Travis Stevenson, Jaden Terry, bringing in safety Darnell Collins, defensive line Freddie Wilson. Guys that are probably talented enough to play and get a lot of snaps. So you look ahead to next year, unless, like you said, you invest heavily on the defensive side of the ball in the portal, it's probably going to be more of the same, especially early on, right? Just because you're going to be playing a lot of young players. So yeah, I think depth was a huge problem on the defensive side of the ball. Really showed to me in those long runs like that. I mean, you can't stop a dive. You let a dive play go 60 yards for a touchdown. That's not good. And it's probably because you lack depth and you got tired legs.
I think the other thing too in this, and you mentioned this when you look ahead, like, I like some of the young names that Tech has on that roster. Next year, you're just going to be asking. It's fine to say, hey, we need 1 or 2 young guys to stand up, even 2 or 3, 4 maybe. When you're talking about, hey, we need 5 or 6 like guys that have not played significant snaps to be ready to play at the Power 4 level, it's a lot to ask. And that's why you see teams supplement that in the portal with having veteran guys that can rotate in, and you don't have to ask so much of those guys. That's my concern, and we'll get to that in the offseason. But like I said, I know that you haven't followed this as closely as I have in terms of the offseason, but what is your take on Blake Gideon? A lot of the fans want him to be fired, and I think it's an overreaction to what has happened this year, because I feel like that's consistent with my line of thinking of, I didn't think Tech had the personnel to begin with, and I've been saying that since February and March. But just maybe your thoughts on this. He's in his first year calling plays, Will. Like, you're also, respectfully, you're not a place that can buy this guy out and go, you're going to have to go bargain bin shopping for a DC if you do this.
Yeah, I think it's a big overreaction. I think he's a good coach. He's got a good track record. I pulled up his Wikipedia. Of course, he's a good coach. He was a GA at Auburn. But no, cornerbacks coach Georgia State, special teams coordinator Houston, Ole Miss, and then Texas safeties coach the last 4 years. I mean, you don't coach at Texas and you don't coach under Steve Sarkisian for 4 years if you're not a good coach, right? And you don't get a call from another Power 4 program to be a first time coordinator if you're not a good coach. I think like I said, we talk about dealing with youngish roster. You got a young coordinator too. I think you got to give him time to grow and learn in the job and be able to go year to year. Now, if we're talking about the same problems next year, yeah, maybe you talk about a change, but
Yeah.
I think it's an overreaction. I think you want good young coaches in your program coordinating a side of the ball. I think it'll help you. It'll help you in recruiting. And like you say, I hadn't followed as closely as you, so I don't even know. Like, I don't know what names could be there for Georgia Tech if they wanted to replace him. And like you said,
Yeah.
do they have the money?
I think this would be the move because you got to remember they hired Gideon so late in the cycle because Santucci didn't get hired till obviously the Ravens had the opening, late in the NFL season. Well, I kind of think that, you go back to what happened a couple years ago. A name that we're familiar with, Kevin Scherer, was brought on staff to help. That defensive staff he wasn't an analyst or truly a DC, but he was a veteran coordinator, a guy who had called plays that could lend a hand to at that time. Andrew Thacker ends up taking over as the interim after Thacker's let go. I do think, Will, there could be a sense of like you could make the case. Okay, Gideon, you're getting one more year. But you've got to be willing to have a guy help you do this. Like that to me would be the biggest thing. Can you bring in a senior defensive analyst, just like Brian Bohannon's your senior offensive analyst? Like, could you bring in somebody who can lend help to that and can make that happen? Is it Kevin Scherer again? I have no idea. But I just think in terms of like that would be a route I could see them go because I think punting on this Blake Gideon experiment is way too early because the guy's very young. He's got a nice resume. He's been places where you want your coordinators to come from. And look, that hire was praised in the offseason because it was all I heard was he's been at a place that's won a lot and he's recruited really well. And look, he's a safeties DBs guy and he's got a pretty decent class. That's the best part of your class right now. So you don't fire a guy because of what you could lose in the class. You can't do that. But I just think there's several things that look, they might fire him. I don't know. But I think it's too early to pull the plug.
The only name that I know, and it would be his oh my gosh, he played at Tech. Let's see, it would be his third stint on staff. National champion defensive coordinator, Ted Roof.
Oh,
I mean, at least to be like you said, a senior analyst, I think he'd be a good guy for that. He didn't coach this year. So maybe he'd be interested in that and can help kind of teach Gideon on the job, help him advise him on the job at least. And a guy that knows Tech, played at Tech, loves Tech. On paper, somebody that doesn't know anything about it seems like a good fit.
Well, I think the model of what you're going for is definitely there. I think another thing too you talk about the coaching staff is like you need to start seeing some development from different positional coaches. Obviously this group for the most part has been in. Gideon, you could also make the argument Gideon really doesn't have his guys in. He's taken over Santucci's defensive staff and what they wanted. So it's an interesting dilemma, I think, that they're in. I'm going to be previewing it later this week, but it feels like the postseason hopes are over. I mean, I understand that the little triple threat through trio is going to have to happen. Tech's going to plead a case if they beat Georgia this weekend. I think the lack of quality wins is going to hurt them because they're only going to have the one. And then you're going to have a loss that, tough, a not really great loss to NC State on the road. I mean, it's not a bad team, but it's not going to be a good loss. Yes, I think the way your losses look do matter. What do you think about this weekend? We're going to be in attendance and we're going to be at the game. I mean, what do you take away? And like, I will say this, like I think there's going to be a bump because it's a rivalry game and Tech's going to be a little bit pissed off. I just don't know how long the emotional aspect of that can last in a game where I think Georgia's really good. Like they've got some things rolling for them, and I think that makes me a little nervous in that.
Yeah, I think Georgia's playing their best ball right now here at the end of the season, and this game is going to mean a lot for Georgia, right? I mean, their SEC schedule's over, so they're on the outside looking in for the SEC title. They need some help too, but if I'm them, thinking about playoffs, I want to hold on to that number 4 spot.
Mm.
You know, the idea, and this was a thought I had, and I hadn't told you about it yet, but maybe get your opinion. The way the rankings are, we'll see how they are tomorrow night if this changes things. But you know, SMU can play their way into the ACC title game if they go and win it. Like you think about it, right now they're unranked, right?
Yeah.
Tulane, they go and win the American Conference, they'll stay ranked. SMU currently is unranked. Is that going to mess up seeding? Right? You think SMU currently unranked, they go win the ACC. Are they going to be the 12 seed, or do they jump Tulane to be the 11 seed? If I'm a 5 seed, I don't want to see SMU in round 1, especially the way they've had to end the year to get into the ACC championship and win it. Ton of momentum. So if I'm Georgia, I want that 4 seed. I want that bye. This is a good game for their resumes. I'm very confident Georgia Tech will stay in the top 25, but with this committee, you never know.
Yeah.
So that'd be another ranked win for Georgia. I think they'll definitely be up for it. Like you said, even more than being a rivalry game. But I think it's going to be real tough for Georgia Tech. I don't like the matchup for Georgia Tech really on either side, especially the way Georgia's playing right now. The issues we saw from Georgia Tech's defense against Pitt, I think Georgia can exploit that. They can just kind of run through that front 7. So I'm nervous. Like you said, we'll preview it. I'm sure we'll do it on a live show too, and I'll certainly dig more into it and have a better opinion. I haven't done that yet, but man, just thinking about it on paper, it has the potential to be a long afternoon for Georgia Tech.
The balance of Georgia's offense concerns me when it comes to Tech's defense. I don't think Tech's defense is really great at anything. And so when you talk about a team that can hit you both ways, like you can't zero in on something, because that's where Tech's won their games, right? Like when you face an offense that, hey, they can't throw the ball, but they're going to run it. Okay, well, we know we got to stop the run. Even though our analytics and everything tells you we're not great at that, that's what you got to go do to win. I don't know. I kind of sit here. It's a rivalry game, rivalry weekend. You know as well as I know, anything can happen. Absolutely, anything can happen. But we'll see. I mean, things like we said, we always say this on the show. Things have to change, and can you change? I guess it comes down to, can you change enough of those things in a span of 6 days to go win a football game and against a really good opponent? We'll see. I don't know.
You know, comments coming in last year is last year.
Yeah.
You know, this is a different Georgia team. This is a different Georgia Tech team. You know, and you can look at the point spread, but I mean, don't really pay any attention to it because Kirby Smart doesn't care about covering spreads. We saw that against Charlotte. I mean, 44 and a half, and they didn't even score. They scored, what, 35, 38 points? They didn't even score 40 points. So, I mean, when you look at the final score, it's probably going to be closer. Georgia Tech will probably cover the spread, whatever it is. But, I mean, in Georgia, I think, I really felt this way middle of the year, like the Auburn game. When Georgia played Auburn, it was death by 1,000 cuts. And they still can certainly do that. But the way their offense has been rolling, it's not the same. But that's what it feels like watching Georgia play teams. I mean, they just gash teams. They just 3, 4, 5 yards at a time, and just it's like a machine going down the field offensively. Yeah. And their defense, it can be suffocating at times. But you know, Kirby Smart doesn't care about scoring a lot of points. He just cares about winning the game. So you can talk about you can talk about and think it'd be a good thing to keep it close, but I mean, how close is it really? I mean, you have to watch the game. Don't just look for the final score.
Yeah, don't box score watch. No, it's interesting. Georgia Tech falls to Pitt on Saturday night. They need some help and some more, and a little magic to get back into the playoff picture and that ACC title game in Charlotte. But look, I mean, if you'd have told a lot of fans that you'd be sitting at 9-2, and I mean, seriously, I predicted them to go 9-3. So, and I mean, I thought they'd go 9-3. And I think if you told fans back in August, hey, you're going to be 9-2 with a chance to get double-digit wins against Georgia, a lot of the fans would take it. This is true progress for this program. It's continuing to – that's a crazy comment, Scott. They're continuing to build. And, right, I think the frustrating fact is that when you get into the season and you take those lens and you look at what could have been, especially in a year where your powers in the ACC haven't been there, it's interesting. We'll see. I think it's going to be a dogfight, though. No pun intended. It's going to be a fun game. It'll be a fun game inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I wish it was at Bobby Dodd. I do. I certainly do. But, hey, Will Maness, my name's Bryce Koon. Thanks so much. Will was boots on the ground there. We will be there Saturday hanging out. Come tailgate with us in the blue lot there pregame. And we will obviously have a post-game show in terms of what happens on Friday. Georgia Tech, Georgia, clean old-fashioned. Hey, Crowder Booth back on the road. It's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you tune in. Make sure to like. Continue to subscribe to the channel. We appreciate you. We'll be live tomorrow night taking a preview because we got to get these shows in before Thanksgiving. Tomorrow night, we'll be previewing Rivalry Weekend, and then I'll be back with a Georgia Tech, Georgia, clean old-fashioned, hate-themed episode on Wednesday. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you next time.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The crowded booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.